Hello everyone, welcome to a new video update. Let's see what the market has done so far. And now that the FOMC is behind, with another nothing burger like we've seen the previous Fed meetings. Of course, they were going to pause, and they will in the future because oil is climbing. And even though it resets if the conflicts get resolved, all these weeks with a little spike, with probably give like a little spike in inflation. And you know how inflation sensitive this Fed has been, this cycle, and markets as well. We will pay attention to oil and we will analyze it later. But let's start with BTC. This is the daily time frame. The range, the 10% range we've been discussing, and how people, I think they're very, very emotional here. First of all, because this chop is affecting altcoins a lot. We've seen many times that BTC dominance tends to climb when there's hesitation, confusion, and doubt in the market. So obviously altcoins get hit. Every time BTC chops for a little bit long, altcoins get hit a lot. But you know, then you can have like a couple of daily candles, even a weekly candles to erase months or weeks of downtrend, right? So I think people should already know that, but still the emotional part is controlling most of us, and that's why the markets are difficult, right? So it's difficult to stick to theory. It's very easy. Everyone knows theory about everything in life, but yet most just go by and survive, right? I mean, if it were that easy, everyone would make it in any aspect. So still within this range, what I find interesting is that even with all the war stuff and the narrative, this is all the lowest it has gone. Like we can see absorption here, starting on Friday, Tuesday, and even yesterday. Absorption, not even letting the daily cycle low flash to be tested again. It's like 103k holding. And I think that's a strength, even though people see this is chop, this is a lower high, but I could say this is a higher low, so this is compressing, something we have been talking about for quite some time. And you can even argue, I'm gonna draw it, you can even argue that yes, this is a bull flag in the making. Yeah, people wouldn't believe that because they are so hurt with their altcoins that this could sound like hopium, but it's just a pattern, right? You make it, you can believe it if you're excited, or you can just dismiss it because you're pissed and triggered. But that doesn't invalidate the pattern, right? So this is a range, and I've been testing some Wyckoff indicators. It's not very easy to find a reliable indicator in terms of Wyckoff, but I've been testing some of them. They tend to believe this could be accumulation both on the daily and the 4-hour chart, right? In fact, if we go to the 4-hour, there's something I found interesting here, and is volume. The spikes here on Friday with the war, all the war triggering here again with this try to retest the lows, volume spikes. So at these levels with absorption, that I think that's relevant. I think there's a clear attempt not to let this range be lost. I really like that. I think that's relevant. And if we go to the weekly, I mentioned long ago, well, I mean, long ago could be a few days here in this market, all this hesitation, all these doubts, all this liquidity grabbing both sides, just shows hesitation in the market. And this, someone has to sell and someone has to buy, right? And since there is no euphoria, there is no open interest, we're still above the EMA, very different from the way we got here. Remember that. I'm gonna hide it again and just show you the funding rate. Very different the way we got here, above the 70 RSI. Remember here before breaking, when everything looked gloomy because it was rejected, blah, 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 open interest wasn't really, I mean, spiking. Look at open interest lately. Like, completely absent, which matches the hesitation and doubts in the market, right? People have pretty much no position, even perhaps on the shorts here, because they don't know what the direction will be. Here, remember when I said this 98k was even more, 96, 98k was even more important because it was the upper range, the support, the previous support of this upper range. People sorted it hard because they thought this was a dead cat bounce. You can see the shorts here, right? How it got rejected. You could interpret it as a shooting star, blah blah blah, but it was a new weekly cycle. And you don't have a trend reversal on the daily after such a correction just to die here. I don't see that. Not even as a dead cat bounce. In my opinion, it would be rejected by the MA, like we did here in this second attempt, or like we did in the dead cat bounce, if I recall correctly. What is it? Oh, it's a fake out here above the DMA, right? But the trend was already set. So I think, still believe this is just a correction. I said that the MA didn't have to be retested. It was here, but it wasn't here. So we're still not retesting it. It could just be retested by the EMA climbing while the price chops, right? Again, as long as we are above the EMA, I see no danger. Retests are always scary. This is the first correction, meaningful correction we've had in terms at least of time and price, because remember, we've seen here these sideways corrections, right? People are very happy. No one was worried about this 41% move with pretty much no corrections, because let's be honest, 5% move, 5% move, and another less than 5% move, right? So the moment we have like a 10% move, people go crazy, right? And even despite this new this lower high, drop has been like 6%, 7%. Even with this is the war kind of move, price action. It's been almost a week. Do we really think that can you see how markets are not really reacting to it anymore? Yes, there's hesitation, but they're not dropping. And remember, when bad news don't affect price, that's a bull market. And when good news don't move price either, that's a bear market. That's normally what happens, right? So markets is so strong that bad news cannot really make it retrace, just perhaps make it pause or stop for a few days, weeks, or whatever. And bear markets, they are so depressed that good news are not enough to cheer them up. So again, this reversal to me is not just to die here, right? Because there's no overheating, there's no euphoria, there's bad news here. You can say that that's not an indicator. Okay, everyone was bearish here because 60 or 50, like all the time it's round targets. That was next, and all I saw, and I said, if you've been here, you know that previous all-time high was coming, right? Because after losing this, yes, attack the previous all-time high while holding the 50 weekly EMA would be possible, and that's what happened. So far, in terms of moving averages, let me open the moving average charts for a second. We have the 4-hour battling to reclaim it. You can say, okay, it was lost. Remember, again, please zoom out. This is what I posted yesterday. Remember the chop and the correction here and the reclaim after the summer in 2024. The bottom, the daily divergence. You don't expect chop, really? People think that everything is gonna go perfectly smoothly because that's what they want. But again, I mean, you can adapt to the market or keep forcing the market to do whatever you want it to do. But that doesn't. It's not how markets work, right? If it were that easy to buy just a random coin and wait for your 10 or 20x and then rinse and repeat. Seriously, there's a clear disconnection between reality, with deep down that's investing is really hard. Why at the same time do people think they can make a 10, 20x without suffering? Or just thinking they're gonna get it for sure? Again, you see here, you can, if you're glued to the low time frame, you can say, okay, we are losing it, man. It's a lower high, lower low, it's over. It's the fucking 4 hour chart, man. What about this? All I see is a reversal, higher highs and higher lows. Yeah, just zoom out a little bit. Even within this 4 hour chart, you just zoom out a little bit and just don't just pay attention to this exact part of the chart. Zoom out. If you're analyzing the trend, you have to analyze the trend completely. And this is a shift, right? The same way you could say it was starting to shift here to have difficulties to hold it, right? And then we had the rejection here. It's a combination of everything, right? It's not just one oscillator on one indicator, one time frame. And I see the same here. Chop. No one was here saying, okay, perhaps we are going too fast, right? We are not retesting the lower value. It isn't necessary. None of this is necessary. But I said that the fact that it's retesting it frequently is helping this create a bigger base. You can say, okay, but this could be just being rejected, and this show inability to hold the trend. Yeah, could be. But until that happens, why should I believe that? When it happened here, the trend had been explosive. We had the daily divergence. We had the open interest here pushing into all-time high. Overheating levels. Very divergence for a whole month. It's the same situation now? It is not. It is not. In fact, let me remove all this. And this is what people are comparing. Seriously, it is not the same. Open interest spikes here, helps price break these all-time high. And then you could say, okay, this is similar, but by the way, it isn't. The only divergence was here, right? And then we have another push, and the divergence reinforces, right? But here, we didn't push. Yeah, there's no divergences. It's just price chopping people out. And I said perhaps they want to reset it into the FOMC, a full reset. It's going beyond that because the days before the FOMC it just chopped, but it looks like it's going to reset completely before moving again. And RSI so far, higher highs, higher lows, the same as price. So this you could say it's the bull flag that I said. You can also point out this is compression building. And what do you see, or what do you have when price compresses in an uptrend? Right? It's up to you to see if this is weakness. Or you could say here, okay, this is not compressing, this could be a bull flag. This is not a bull flag when it's been chopping and showing weakness for quite some time. It's not the same. Yes, you might think that this is easy because of I'm analyzing it knowing what has happened. But I pointed out here, together with USDT, this could be a lower top. I don't think it is the same now. In fact, if we take a look at USDT, we can see this is the daily. We spotted the divergences, the reversals here in summer 24. The local top here started from November, the bullish divergence in USDT, the bearish divergence for BTC for a whole month. Finding, this is one of the keys in my opinion, high time frame support. Because this is high time frame support, and this, which is why I chose a different kind of line, is an intermediate support. A support that has acted as support in an uptrend after the reversal, right? Find the bottom, chop around because it's an important level, but in an uptrend it eventually acts as support, and in a downtrend should act as support but eventually fades, right, and maintain the trend. You might think, okay, you are being bullish, blindly bullish, because you want to be bullish. Of course, my bet is on the markets going to the upside, but I'm not gonna ignore any potential reversal. But still, the main ingredients for me is just a high time frame divergence, at least like a few weeks, the daily, together with open interest going high and reaching some key levels. like Fibonacci extensions, something like that. And there's nothing like that. And the weekly EMA also losing the being lost and turned bearish. So far, we are still in the middle of a new weekly cycle. That's how I see it. You can play however you want. And also, I said that this 490, which by the way I said it should be top here, 495, 490, yeah, 495, something like that, should be resistance. We don't want this to flip into support, because that could mean like we are entering the true reversal. This is a true reversal. The difference here is that this bullish divergence, shorter than this one, which was the local top, has happened this kind of mid-range. So this could be the leg, the bounce from oversold levels, right, into a lower high, and then a rollover, right? Still, this rising wedge has not been reclaimed. This bear flag completed. You can see that in this case, RSI wasn't really hinting it was over. You could say that, well, okay, stop RSI could perhaps getting overheated, not much. So, but we have a structure first, right? So we have an intermediate kind of bounce here. That's why it acted as resistance, support here, resistance here. That's relevant. And this bear flag broke to the downside. You could say that the reversal is in progress. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly shows an interesting picture, which is the, I want to remove all this for a second, which is potential various retest of the EMA. The same way BTC could retest the EMA bullishly, right? And what I see now, still in a downtrend, remember that I pointed out in the last video that I don't see such a big bearish divergence because it was like a year and a half. Oh, sorry, 6 months, not year and a half. And just end in this correction. If this flips, yes, it could be a higher low, and then we enter in the reversal kind of mode. And the market just has stopped. I don't think that, right? And you could even argue that this is another bear flag in the making. Remember the daily bear flag we saw. An attempt to reclaim the trend got rejected here. You can say, yeah, but it's been building. Yeah. Remember what they said, stairs up on the elevator down? This could be a bear flag and just a rejection here. And I'm going to show you why the daily and why the high time frame is way more useful, right? I'm gonna flip it here. Okay, because it's not just about finding oversold areas, because here, this was the top in March. We had the oversold area here for USDT. So you could say, okay, this is the top, but it was at high time frame support. And what was BTC doing back then? In March, remember that. Very overheated, the weekly as well, right? With this the various divergence that has been building, losing strength, chopping, that was pretty much like a distribution top after a 6-month run. Here, 6-month run and 88 RSI. It was a different situation, because what about this November 2023 very oversold level? You could argue here, because this is all the data you have back then, you could argue here this was USDT finding support here at very oversold levels, so a reversal is coming, because this is the daily. That's why the daily not always gives alpha, right? So this was late October and November 23. Let's see what the weekly was doing for USDT back then. Late October, yeah, here. Look at where the EMA was, the RSI was, below the EMA. All the weekly support that we found here, where is it here? It's not existent. In fact, we see rejection here in November to confirm that yes, the trend the previous support has turned into resistance. We are below the MA, right? We tried again, get rejected again, and confirm the downtrend. We tried to reclaim, get rejected twice, confirm the downtrend. We are not even able to retest it again, and down we go. And now we find support again, this mid-range. Earlier we found support here in September, like in this previous support, and it became resistance. But it was more chop between September and October, and we failed, right? Initial rejection, we try, and when we cross above, we print the daily divergence. And if I turn this into a line, and for a second I remove everything, for now, after losing this bear market range, what I see for now, so lower high, lower low, lower high. That's why now we need a lower high and another lower low here below 377, I think it is, for the highest time frame, right? After losing this range, obviously with the various edges that we saw here, the weekly, it's gonna keep going down. This is the bear market top of the distribution for USDT, right? I don't see it ends here. And I posted on the monthly, even higher time frame, this is a descending triangle, the monthly. And if it breaks here, normally the descending triangle breaks to the downside, right? This is the descending triangle, more or less. And this normally breaks to the downside because it's in a downtrend. The opposite to an ascending triangle. But this is the monthly. You know all that can happen in between, right? So yeah, of course your altcoins are gonna suffer, but by the time we get down there, perhaps you are 5x higher your bags, because yeah, we just let the high time frame go. Retests are scary, and until this is invalidated, I cannot turn bearish. But these inflection points are difficult to read. And you have to bet. What's your bet? Do you bet to the upside, considering everything that's been going on, or do you bet to a reversal? It's up to you. I can just give data. This is total free. What was total free doing back in October? A retest here, looking like we're chopping, we're getting rejected. But all I see is the wick to the downside, and we make here a higher low. We won't make a higher high, but we make a higher low. This compresses, and off it goes. Wick down, rejected at 950 as we expected. We are struggling to hold this Fibonacci level, but the structure is still higher lows. MA, yes, retesting, slightly crossing. You know, the moment we get to 840, this is back to above the MA. So I don't see why this is bearish. I just see a slow recapture of the trend. This inverse head and shoulder can still perfectly play. It's not going to be exactly perfect. You can see the wicks here, right? When we were here, the candle at some point was back here, right? It eventually closed back up, but at some point it was here, and people were losing their minds. I see again nothing wrong. What about others? Pretty much the same thing. What they do here? Another retest of the MA, getting rejected by previous resistance, making a higher low, and then broke when BTC dominance said it was time. Here again, finding the bottom with the wick, getting rejected at previous resistance, not this one, the next level, and now trying to hold this as support. Isn't this reclaiming higher highs and higher lows? Oh, you stick to this compared to this? This is a lower high. Yeah, well, this is a higher low. So what now? If in a high time frame structure, in a bullish, like bull market kind of, okay, let me just reload. A bull market, I have to pay attention to the main structure, right? And I can see this and say this is looking bad, because all I'm seeing for now, this is what we wanted to see. But generally speaking, high highs and high lows. You don't want to believe that because you're suffering right now? That doesn't invalidate the path. That's it. The same way when we lost this support and it became resistance, this cannot be seen as bullish, because we are losing and this support and it becomes resistance. This was the downtrend, right? And if we go to the weekly, another retest here. While the structure keeps getting bullish, we have the bearish divergence here that marked the top pretty much at the previous all-time high, confluence weakness, overheating at very important levels. Yes, that could be a time to the risk. This is the time where people say, "What? But what if it keeps going? My exact bag is pushing now. Why should I sell?" It's up to you. But then don't regret and get pissed when this happens, right? And all I see is a new weekly cycle. We find the bottom with a small even divergence. We reclaim the MA, retest it to say, okay, we are back, high or low, and we push. What are we doing now? This is the period where people lose their minds. Perhaps you don't position yourself at the bottom. You did here, or you did climbing here, and now you're pissed. Will you make the same mistakes then? Because this is the time to see if data and technicals are what you should be paying attention to, right? Again, this is the bear market bottom. Even here, the structure was shifting, right? You could even argue that this could be go straight, but again, even the structure was shifting here, already shifting, rising to from the bear market bottom to the top here, 88 RSI. You just let this play. What's bad about this? Then we reset, we establish a new high low, and we continue. Remember, please remember, two ranges, bear market and the top range. Here, 2020, we didn't even leave the bottom range pretty much until mid 2020. And even though, even back here, people were just really pissed here, saying that there was no altcoin market bull run or whatever. And look how RSI was already way higher than it is now. We need to cross the 70 for this insane push, but look at where price is and how low RSI is. That we have plenty of room. And this was just a test, in my opinion. A test of what might come later. Price discovery is all we need for BTC and for markets to really, really send. It happened before, it's going to happen again. Do we need QE? Based on what? Just one data point, which was last cycle when we had like extraordinary COVID, a black swan that triggered all that insane printing. And do you really base your whole plan on a black swan and their consequences? Really? Is that your play? You overlay a chart, one chart that coincides, and that's all you base your plays on. And when that doesn't happen, what do? You start calling the market a scam. I mean, it's not easy. There's a lot you have to bear in mind. If we take a look at BTC dominance, remember that the last post I said, if Q4 is something that the price action back then is something reliable and comparable, BTC dominance won't really roll over until BTC start showing weakness like it did here. Because if we compare BTC dominance with previous, but let me just find, this is the weekly, I want to go to the daily. And it was here when the here, BTC started showing the first weakness, the open interest going high, and this is when BTC dominance starts to grow. I think this is a perfect trap to make people believe that this is the start of the round when BTC is already showing some weakness, and it's like market makers saying, okay, let's just open the gates so all the noobs get trapped in when this is the last phase of this push, right? The whole push they missed, and now they start piling in here because they are going to be talking about 120, 140 mid-January, February, seasonality about February and March, super strong for altcoins based on one data point, and that's all they need. They just start building the narratives. We just push those narratives together with price because all they care about is price. If price goes up, my narrative is justified and all my plan is suddenly working because I base it exclusively on price, not levels, not, again, long in resistance, shorting support because I'm doing all emotionally. If it goes down, I have to short. If it goes up, I have to long. And then you open the gates just for a little bit, November to mid-December, something like that, and they all get trapped. So all I see for now is that I still find relevant the BTC dominance is unable to make a high yet. And to me, even though it keeps climbing and altcoins are still not outperforming, remember the Ethereum BTC chart, how it topped together with, how it bottomed, sorry, together with, for now, the BTC dominance top, right? I can just not to open the new chart, how it bottomed together with, for now, the top, and how since May, like we are 1 month and a half, Ethereum BTC hasn't really retraced this move to be a fake out. And I think that's why this is relevant. This, I maintain, is the top of BTC dominance. I don't know when the altcoins will move. I said this weekly cycle didn't look like the cycle for altcoins to move, and I still maintain that because I see they are accumulating, they're doing well, they are loading the next move. But I don't really see that being the tremendous move we are expecting. Especially because if I take a look at oil, by the way, I see this is the oil chart. I haven't really charted a lot, but I see that here from April to May, it was building a daily divergence. It started playing out. And even before the war was already going up. It's like either this bullish leg is playing out or people know something. And for now, I see it's reached the daily RSI where it has stopped before. You could even argue this kind of building a daily divergence, but this spike, if we let's switch to the weekly, right? Because the weekly, this move looks a little bit exhausted. Let's see what the conflict eventually, how it resolves, if it does. But for now, it looks a little bit getting to the exhausted area, and for now this is a downtrend that oil has to break, right? This is a downtrend, and for now it's printing another divergence, so a rollover here could happen with the conflict being resolved, let's say. But there's something I cannot ignore, and that's it, inflation. This is the weekly chart, right? You can pair it with oil, and you can see it's pretty much, it follows oil. So this drop in inflation, this is the weekly, with oil now curling back up since May a little bit. So this spike, even if the conflict ends now, could really spike a little bit the inflation, and that's why I said that perhaps the oil spike might be reflected later in CPI. I think, I don't know what's the new number, July, something like that, I don't know. Could coincide with the next weekly cycle correction. It's true that we still haven't really pumped with BTC and altcoins. So that is a risk. If we don't pump until here, until the next CPI print, considering how CPI sensitive the markets are, that could trigger a bigger correction for BTC. That's the closest danger I see now. And you know the Fed won't cut. They won't cut when oil has spiked. Even though it's been in a downtrend since the year started, I think it was here, was a 33% drop, but now it has climbed back. So CPI, inflation, will really show that. We can see how it dropped from 3% more or less to 2.3, now like a 0.1, 0.2 climbing. So the Fed won't ignore that. And the markets will probably initially get spooked, and that's why I think the next correction would coincide with the next CPI reading. But first, I need to see, or I want to see the market running, because otherwise things could get uglier, and I cannot deny that. But so far, still everything looks good. If I take a look at Ethereum, by the way, Ethereum has been a coin that every time it pumped, the market retraced. So it was pretty much like the last indicator for a fake pump. But things have changed since the bottom here in March. Initial like a V-shaped recovery into this 2.5 range, which has been holding for like a month and a half, more or less, and getting very tight within these moving averages. Again, this is something we haven't really seen. I compare it to the daily compression for BTC at 84K, but we haven't really seen this kind of compression for Ethereum, right? At least the weekly. You could argue that this was chopping in between and below, but this was a bigger range that triggered, by the way, this push in Q4, right? But this is getting even more compressed. You can see how both sides are holding, and the moment this breaks, no matter the direction, I think it's going to be huge. And let's be honest, I'm going to remove this one. I see nothing wrong about this. This is the weekly, there's no deviances, nothing. It's just, let's say, organic kind of move, healthy. And I want Ethereum to see what's gonna do next, but it really looks strong, and I can't deny that. If I go to the daily, we can see the compression is getting even tighter, right? The moment this is the faker we had at 2.8 was an easy trade here, back to the range, but it's getting more and more compressed. Look at here in Q4, I said that this move, this is why I mentioned today that this could be better than people think, because all this apparently boring price action for coins is just compression building while holding key levels, and that's way better than this. Yes, you can say this is a range, this is a bottom, it's way bigger, it's below the MAs, and suddenly we break. There's no support, really. We are building support here, right? We were below here in 2023, build a little bit here, reclaimed it, and then we could launch, right? Even here, before in March. But here we were below, and suddenly we just pushed because BTC dominance says so. And you could even say it's the same for other markets. Total 3 playing a similar kind of move here as in Q4 in terms of the daily, faking people out, but not as strong here as we saw here after this reclaim and the big push holding all the way up. We didn't hold this. That's why this kind of move was weaker than this one, right? Than the previous one. And if we go back to the previous cycle, this whole big move was in the back of constantly getting retested and holding the moving averages. Where people say this is boring, there's no whole season, this was really loading. Just you take a look at this and say, okay, I'm not gonna sell until we lose the trend. It's insane. This was really strong. And if we take a look, since we reclaimed the 200 moving averages, we haven't lost them. And if we take a look at the weekly, I'm gonna remove the EMA because we don't need that. For now, it is above the 50, below the 20, pretty much the same, trying to reclaim them. And remember, this is the moment we cross both, we were in a bull market. And what we are doing now is just a retest. Pretty much the same here in the last cycle. We reclaim them both, we retest, And that's when we have a bull market, and we just have to wait for BTC dominance to say it's go time. There's nothing wrong with this. Even if we go back to even 800 to retest the lowest MA, the lowest band, still a higher low. But it's scary. Retests are scary. So I still believe everything is going well. I remember posting this, that being invested in altcoins multiplies every emotions, blah, blah, blah. This was October when we were fighting to reclaim the trend. The thing is, I'm gonna remove all this and open the weekly. Well, I'm gonna open the daily, right? And if I just introduce the tweet, copy the tweet here to see what it was. It was here. Not even when we were pumping into previous all-time high that it got overexcited and it said, okay, we are so back. No, it was just before, right? In this correction area that people thought that, yeah, no. I remember some people calling here that it was rejected, this was showing weakness. Just play the high time frame. We are sifting. This is the structure sifting. This is the structure sifting. What are we talking about? We are fighting this previous all-time high region. Of course, there's going to be some resistance and hesitation. Of course, right? And if we take a look at the weekly, we can see the moment I posted it, it was above the MA. It had reclaimed it, retested, and even though this was a red wick, similar here, we were above the MA. This was a new weekly cycle. Seriously, it's just about zooming out. And if I add, if I add the funding rate, you can see that by the time we were still fighting, for many people still in disbelief, getting here, open interest was nowhere to be seen. And still was even higher than here. And only when we break all-time high is when freaking noobs pile in, when BTC was showing already weakness. It's all the time the same. Look at the huge spike for BTC here. Look at the place where everybody goes long. The freaking top every single time. When it's already showing weakness, people pile in. It never changes. Why do you think it will now? Why do you think we top in fear? Why do we think we top in people shorting the top? It's the first time people are super smart. That's why they are all in altcoins. They're having all in altcoins, getting wrecked the whole cycle because they know what they do, right? Because you can see these candles and they say it's freaking over. Why is it over? You can say, yes, rejections. Oh, well, you see rejection, I see absorption here. So what is it? What is it? I see compression building. You can draw it whatever you want, however you want. But I have in an uptrend, I'm not gonna fight an uptrend until it breaks. That's it. So a little bit long video, but I hope this has given you some of my perspective. Where we are close to those inflection points by higher time frame, it's still healthy, and it could show in hindsight. Remember, the moment the conflict is resolved, your bucks could send and you can be left sidelined and regret following the doomers. On X, I think we have had many examples, the Ukraine, Russia war, the yen carry trade, all those stuff. And people didn't care. The market didn't care. People did, but the market didn't. The first attack on Israel, and I think was October 24. What happened next? October 24. Yeah, what happened next? The trend was had already shifted and didn't really care. It's just these candles. This is all where all people get lost and mad and exhausted. And then they call this a fake move. Come on, let's at least wait for data to invalidate, and then we can adapt. The thing is, people want to anticipate the invalidation because perhaps by the time everything gets invalidated, they have lost or left money on the table. And they don't want that. So they leave early, they anticipate, they don't wait for confirmation, and then they are left behind. The same at the top, you don't sell when you see signs of weakness, right? Because you want more. And then you are left back holding. So again, this is my bet. I bet onto the upside. I don't really care. There's a difference between, and a positive just said, there's a difference between trying to time your exit or your entry, more or less, like finding bots, okay, I buy here, finding weakness, I exit here, and trying to time when the next move happens. I don't care. If the trend is set and it tops in November, August, July, September, I don't really care as long as I already have a good entry. I just let it ride. Right? People want to time the next move because they want money and they want money now. But that doesn't work like that. So if it takes longer, to me, it's even better because it's money changes hands again, like we did here for 8 months, which was the kind of price action that allowed this big move. When all the money has, do you think people buying here or buying here are doing so to sell here? Or I don't know, if you buy here and you are not like retail buying euphoria, buying shit coins, do you think you do to sell at a 10% loss or a 20% loss in the coming 2 months? I don't think so. Anyway, I hope you have found something useful here. Let's see how the week ends. I believe it's gonna be a boring week with a full stock RSI reset on the daily and all eyes glued to the conflict. We have triple witching this week on stocks. It's the old expiration for contracts and stuff on Friday. I don't think nothing's gonna happen. We are gonna chop and reset. Perhaps next week we move. If we do before, then even better. Until then, take care. See ya.